Welcome to the Lance Wallnau Show. Today, you don't want to miss a thing that is coming down the pike because Elon Musk is on fire. It's in the midst of all the bad news that you can have about Brazil. There's positive news about what's happening in Brazil. There's a move of God, but Elon Musk is producing the space for a move of God in the United States because he's pushing back on the left so strong. He's restoring the public square. He's taken the intelligence community down on Twitter, and he's allowing us to poke fun at the elites and rulers and kings. But that's not the big story. The big story is the crashing economy, something you want to be paying attention to. And with that thought in mind, I want you guys to be looking at lancewallnau.com/stormproof, how to stormproof yourself from the economic collapse, the dumpster fire that's about to happen because we're running out of diesel by Thanksgiving. Right now, if you have nothing that you can invest, this will show you how to create wealth. If you have something to invest, we're going to show you how to multiply it. And if you've got a lot to lose, we're going to teach you how to protect it. There's a custom survey, coaching, in-depth resource. I can't speak enough about it. lancewallnau.com/stormproof. We made it for you. Now let's go to the program. Oh boy. Welcome to the voice of prophetic optimism and hope all throughout the fruited plain of the United States and around the world. We're especially thankful to those of you in Austria. Or is it Australia? That's Australia that are listening to me, not Austria. Anyway, I'm here with Mercedes Sparks, who's been educating me. She said, look, we got to have some good news. I'm in a good news state of mind. And I'll tell you why. Because I see this book right here. You see this book? Because here's what I know about this Bible. See, you go about 6 pages in. That's how far man goes in before he screws up. The rest of the book is God's recovery plan. I know God's working throughout history to recover. He has no illusions about us. Human beings are 6 pages into the book and we screwed up. We didn't even get the first chapter done right. So I have confidence in God's recovery project. But the recovery project means nations are in the valley of decision. Nations are making choices that are going to have consequences, and it's going to be a spiritual warfare working out, which means eventually it's going to be anti-Christian, or it'll be for Christian. That's why the whole idea about Christian values is important. Do you like the idea of one man, one woman? Well, the left doesn't. They want it to be one woman, woman, one man, 3 women. Who knows where this goes? A man and a boy, that's where they want to go. Christian values are the foundation of common sense law, common sense practice, because it's rooted and grounded in the fundamental nature of the obligation to love one another. And if you love each other, you won't intentionally do harm to each other. And so with that motive in mind, Christians are the safest people in the world to have governance, because they're trying to create a world that works for everyone and leaves no one out. Then it gets a little harder when you have destructive freedoms that want to proclaim their right to go where they want to go. What do Christians do? My heart goes out to the agonizing intercessors and laborers and warriors who, in a nation of 210 million, had a Christian president who stood against communism, decadence, the transgender policies, who now has had to step aside because the elections were electronically manipulated to a 1-point loss. And the opposition comes in saying, we've been given a mandate to go full Marxist, which is a total lie. It doesn't matter how Al-Qaeda gets the cockpit. They'll act as though they were given a mandate to crash the plane. And that's how the devil's going to treat countries that let him run what they do. America's in some serious trouble. But our midterms is the time when the American people, by the genius of the founders, are able to make some powerful statement. 1/3 of the Senate, at any one point in time, no more than 1/3 is up for grabs because the founders knew you needed 6-year long-term stability. You have to have some people thinking beyond the short-term election cycle. But then the 2 years is the Congress. They were so brilliant. Understand what they did. I didn't understand so 4 years ago. The founders said you need to have a pressure relief valve for issues. And the population, if they get pent up, if they have no outlet, they blow up. That's where you have insurrections, coups, and civil wars. He said, but every 2 years, they said, let them ventilate into the political process. So you see the first cup of boiled water goes every 2 years out into the congressional elections, where the nation has a chance to see where it's at, and it gives them an opportunity to let off the steam of representing where they're coming from. And then the more contemplative 6-year cycle of the Senate, which is always supposed to be more philosophic than reactionary, thinking of long-term policy, because what's in the best interest of my state and our nation, because they have a longer-term view. They're secure in their job for 6 years. What does that mean? Well, that means that we have a reactionary office called Congress. We have a contemplative office called the Senate. But if those two are ever ideologically aligned in one direction with the executive branch, it becomes a very powerful mechanism. If they have an ideology they want to drive, Republicans never have. They're kind of stupid that way. They remind me of Ahab in the Bible. They're easily manipulated by Jezebel. And Jezebel is the seduction of short-term personal gains, etc. So we haven't had strong Republican leadership. When the Democrats, by the way, get Congress, even if they're in the minority, they'll impeach the president. They'll take over your budget. They'll create news cycles and just hog tie you. If they get the Senate and the House, the Congress, and the executive, well, they can fundamentally change your country in ways you'll never recognize. Americans are taking back their government in this midterm cycle. It's the House. They're ventilating strong right down to the school board, and it's working. Thank God for the founders creating this system. And the Senate is even interesting right now. It looks like we might even be able to move past 50-50, which is a nice edge in sanity in a country like this. You have to have the majority. And we're moving that direction. And I'm happy to see and say that it looks as though the hand of God is on us. But boy, what's coming in the economic dumpster fire of 2023 is already being felt. Double-digit inflation. Tucker Carlson's freaking me out here. I'm on my desk reading. He absolutely blasts the Biden administration. He says, by Thanksgiving week. That's when is Thanksgiving, by the way?
It's like November 25th. Whatever week that is.
All right, November 25th. Mm-hmm. He says everything stops. The economy freezes because we don't have any more diesel. And the war against fossil fuels and the draining down of our backup emergency rations and our support for Ukraine is the perfect storm that's going to cause no trucks, no trains, no barges to move, equipment shut down on the farms. There'll be no deliveries. There'll be no trucks for the deliveries, diesel generators, which is not very happy for people that are saying, what's my backup plan in case I start to freeze? I got a diesel generator. Well, good luck with that, Tarzan. Your economy's going to crash because everything runs on diesel. It doesn't run on solar panels. It doesn't run on wind farms. It's diesel. And so is this a design in 25 days? 20 days by the time you hear this broadcast? Yeah. What in the world, Mercedes?
I mean, that's scary to me. I didn't realize that was going on with the diesel. I knew our normal gas supplies, for ethanol has been depleted. Normal old, good old oil has been depleted by President Biden.
All right, let me pull this conversation to something we can both talk about with authority.
You always throw me weird questions. This is like Gene Bailey and you. I'm like, what type of question is that? Ask me about Twitter and how Twitter's fact-checking Biden. Right. Ask me about the economy. Don't ask me about gas.
I'll tell you what.
Tucker's thoughts are on gas.
I'm a reasonable man. I just thought maybe, I realized why Gene asked me those absurd questions. Now I just got a glimpse. It's because he honestly thinks that more than other people, I might have an answer. And so he throws me the tough, weird questions because he's actually wondering. And so I get the fastball. So let me give you a lob over home plate here.
Okay.
What's going on with Elon Musk there, Mercedes? Are you happy about this?
Yeah, I am. But I was going to say, though, too, as you're talking, I have things to say. And then you ask a question, and I'm like, oh, I had all those other things to say.
Well, I know you're experiencing exactly what I go through.
That's exactly what you go through. Okay, but now it's all left my brain.
I had thoughts to say that I didn't get to say. You change the subject, Gene, and give me a question that's bizarre, and then you tell me briefly. So, do you have any thoughts on this, on what I said regarding the economic dumpster fire? And I don't know if I talked about Brazil. I've been talking about Brazil a lot because I'm very upset about what happened to that great nation. But I think if the church locks shields, they can have a revival and park this misery on the Marxist desk, just like Americans need to park our breakdown on the Democrats' desk.
Yes. Talking with you is like trying to herd conversational cats because you're like economy, the recovery, but Brazil, how about gas? Anyways, I'm going to
giving
answer.
you lots to work with.
got a lot
One
to
other
work with.
host brings
Yes.
a co-host in and says, whatever. Go ahead.
The whole
Talk
point
about
is,
what you want to talk
it's
about.
not whatever. Now it is. So, but I do think, it's going to be really interesting when Republicans take over because I think all of the blame of the economy is going to be placed on them. Because as we know, we have been in a recession. We've had 2 quarters with negative growth consecutively, which is the definition of a recession. Is the administration calling it a recession? Is the media calling it a recession? No, they're not. When will they call it a recession? After the Republicans take over. And then the Republicans' hands are going to be tied. Because realistically, even if you have a Republican Senate and House, they really can't do anything. I mean, it ends up, any bill they put on the president's desk is going to get vetoed. So it's like, it's really 2 years of, I think, committees. I think let's do our own committees. Let's get to the heart of really what did happen on January 6th. What really is going on with the Hunter Biden laptop? I think we're going to end up with things like that in the House and the Senate. But I think our hands are tied, and I don't really know what they can do economically. At the end of the day, I think there's going to be situations they're put in where if the Republicans don't vote for more spending, they're going to be labeled as greedy and, evil, mean, uncompassionate Republican conservatives.
We have got to get control of big tech and the media, because as long as they have the Goebbels capacity to release confusion into America by lying, the American people can't make intelligent choices if they're not informed properly. And it's so serious. They may say that Viktor Orban is a fascist dictator. If I was able to do so, I'd shut down the media that I know is working as tools for the devil. And yeah, I'm just going to flat out say it. I'd do what Viktor Orban did. I'd say you're ideologically locked in on a communist conversion of the nation, on the chemical castration of children. Your agenda's clear, your ideology's clear, and I'm going to forbid you to have access to the public mind. Or I'm going to frame you in such a way that you're going to be just defending those ideas and not interpreting news so that you misrepresent what's really happening in the nation.
Well, and I also wonder, where is the line? You remember back, and I mean, this is when I was little, but when they started to break up telecom companies because they were too large, and where is the line with these media companies? There used to be, in 1983, 55 different media outlets. Today, there are 5 dominant media outlets. And then that's Comcast, Viacom, all those guys. But that's not even social media, which is where a lot of people get their news from. So when does Facebook become too big?
I want to say this now with all sincerity to everyone. Give me a close-up right in my face. This is important, guys. This is as close as you can get back there. I got all this expensive studio. You guys can't you gradually zoom in? Can't you zoom in on me until the pores in my like you show me when you tell me I need makeup? You guys always do these close-ups. Look at that. Listen to me, all of you. Keep going, all the way to my eyes. I want you all to listen to me. Go to Twitter and reactivate your account. Go to @Lance Wallnau. Go to @LanceWallnau.com.
No, it's blurry.
No, not .com. Go to @LanceWallnau. I got lost for a second. I got lost. I hypnotized myself. I hypnotized myself. We'll perfect this technique. We'll perfect it. I want you. 7 mountains. Christian nationalism. Listen, go to Twitter. I want you to sign up at @Lance, WALLNAU. Because we're back. Elon Musk has done something.
Lance Wallnau. Did you say @Lance?
@Lance Wallnau.
Okay.
LANCE. Look what you did to me, Mercedes. WALLNAU. Join. We'll have a special gift for you. Mercedes singing your favorite Christmas songs.
Oh, I could do that.
She's got a lovely voice. She really has a kind of like a I heard her singing for her daughter Liberty, and I said, "Oh, it's so sweet. It's like a Disney voice." So I'll play for you your favorite hymn. You request it, and I'll play it. That's just kind of a strange request, but I'll play for you whatever you want. Go to @LanceWallnau.com. The reason, not .com, @LanceWallnau on Twitter. Because I'm trying to build this up to 100,000 followers after being decimated, I told Elon, I'm going to help restore. We're going to make Twitter great again. MTGA. Okay. Now that we're done with that moment, Mercedes, if we get the blue check mark back, how does that work? I want to get my blue check mark back.
Okay, I compose myself because that was really funny watching you hypnotize yourself.
I hypnotized myself. I did.
People can't see the giant TV. We have to post a picture of it, but there's
I'll
a
show you a
giant
picture of this.
TV.
I have a giant screen in front of me, and I'm watching them go in, and I'm becoming mesmerized, which is what what Narcissus actually was. He was mesmerized with his own image in a pool, and I became narcissistically self-absorbed. And in that moment, I hypnotized myself, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm coming under my own powers.
LanceWallnau.com. I mean, at Lance Wallnau. I mean, just find me.
It was too much. My face was getting larger and larger. I looked like Regis Philbin.
That was. If you're listening on the podcast, you have to go watch the episode. That was really funny.
Sorry about that on the podcast.
So, what was the question about Twitter? So Twitter blue check mark. Yeah. So you can now. There's a new thing that he's launching. I think it's verified blue, something like that. But you can pay $20 and get your blue check mark. And what he's trying to combat here are bot accounts, because they're still not fessing up to how many bot accounts they have. And they were like, well, it's really hard to figure it out. And he's like, guys, listen, we're not going to the moon. You know, how many bot accounts are on Twitter? You can't find that out. So one way to combat it is to do this verified check mark, which I think it's a great idea. The other really cool thing that's happening now, I don't know if you go over to @POTUS, there's this new feature that's being applied to certain tweets that are going out, and it's basically a fact check. So the president's being fact checked, and there's a little blurb here, and I can just read it to you, and we'll put it on the screen in post. But so Biden says, let me give you the facts. In 2020, 55 corporations made $40 billion, and they paid zero in federal taxes. My Inflation Reduction Act puts an end to this. Now, underneath it, there's a little blurb that says, readers added context they thought people might want to know. So then it's this blurb. It says the Inflation Reduction Act imposed a minimum tax on corporations with average pre-tax earnings greater than $1 billion. Out of the 55 corporations the tweet references, only 14 had earnings greater than $1 billion that would be eligible under Biden's tax law. So he puts out this tweet saying, I'm going to start taxing all these big giant corporations. These 55 corporations are going to pay. And then they added this context. They're like, well, technically it's only 14. There's only 14 that met the criteria to be taxed. So that's one blurb. And then he has another one here. It was fact checked. This one's kind of interesting. Some seniors pay this president says, some seniors pay $400 a month for insulin. It's ridiculous. Thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, we're capping that cost at $35 a month. So that's what he puts out. Then the little blurb says, readers added context. While the Inflation Reduction Act capped insulin costs at $35 for individuals on Medicare, it did not cap costs for seniors on private insurance or anyone under the age of 65. Out of the 8.4 million Americans who take insulin, only 3.3 million are covered by Medicare. So he makes it sound like he's like, we're capping it at $35. And they're like, well, actually, there's...
Oh, boy, this is what we call real fact-checking here, people. We're coming at you with the real facts. We're the real fact-checker. Watch out. Remember Dana Carvey? He was doing that old man. You remember that was before your time.
Dana Carvey?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, when I was a boy, we used to walk to school. I'm getting to that age now. I feel like I'm at that age. When I was a boy, we used to walk to school 5 miles in the snow without shoes on. Freezing cold, our toes swelling. We didn't complain. We walked back home again. It's the angry old man. I don't want to become the angry old man. But I want to point out something. If you think the theft of the election in Brazil is enough to make your blood boil, let me tell you something. Remember I said it. Pennsylvania is mini Brazil. Pennsylvania is shaping up to become our Brazil. And I'll tell you something else, Mercedes. I was at a meeting with the big mucky mucks of fundraising. I mean, the guys that have millions of dollars worth of fundraising they do for elections.
Mm-hmm.
I could mention 2 of their names right now, but I don't want to make needless enemies. And I was with a bunch of multimillionaires that fund, right? So I hang out with these guys now and then.
Mm-hmm.
And I made the naive statement. I said, excuse me, if we're really important and caring about getting out the vote, why don't we just go to the rank and file people and get volunteers? I mean, why do we have to pay you guys to hire people to do this work? Well, right away, these 2 organizations locked shields on me. They said, no. It's far more reliable when you have a paid person. They don't cancel because of a soccer game or bad weather because they're on the payroll. And so anyway, I found an organization, was on War Room with Steve Bannon. And I want to do it. I'm serious about this. I'm sorry that I didn't bring it in this morning when I woke up. I just was so upset about Brazil. I forgot to mention it to the staff. There's an organization which will help us coordinate phone banks, which means we can get people on the phone, working the phones, to call to make sure people go out and vote.
Yeah.
And we could do it, and they call it a smile while you dial party. We could literally be, I'll put it online. We'll have 1 hour where we'll all be on our phones calling, and we'll do it like a group thing, a Jerry Lewis telethon or something. But we'll figure out how to do it. The point is, we can all work phones. I don't want us all sitting at home. None of us have done precinct work. None of us have done poll work. There's a fraction of us going out there knocking on doors. You could do something. You want to at least say you had skin in the game. What do you say to that, Mercedes?
I think it's a great idea. And I think a lot of the way it's done is I think you put an app on your phone and then they give you the script. Don't be intimidated if you feel intimidated of Lance, we're trying to recruit you to do dialing here, but they give you the script and normally it's just a handful of questions like, have you gone to vote? Are you planning to vote? And you just go through a handful of things and hey, thank you for your time. It's easy to do.
Now, Will Ferrell, I saw. Did you see Will?
I sent it to you.
What the heck? You sent it to me. Will Ferrell's up there in Austin, knocking on doors for the cause, trying to spread that California lawlessness over here. People running around smoking hemp as nudists, bashing people on the head with ball-peen hammers. He wants to bring it to a theater near you. This is the star of what? Ghostbusters and Anchorman.
Will Ferrell?
Was he in Ghostbusters?
I don't think he was in Ghostbusters.
Well,
no.
he could have been.
SNL. He's really famous for SNL and
Well, he's
a couple of
Cowbell.
movies.
I remember him because our Cowbell. Remember Tim Dickerson Dickerson over at Blazing Saddles or Rolling Stone or wherever the place is that's writing the hit pieces on me?
Yes.
Blazing Saddle. That would be a great name for a newspaper.
I mean, there's nothing like pulling a 90s B-lister actor to come campaign for you. That
Hey,
just
Will
says,
Ferrell
we're
happens
winning.
to be one of my generation's great comedians, even if I think his politics is classic left coast crazy. But hey, listen, man, they're drinking different water out there. All right, we got 10 seconds left.
Vote.
The most important thing you can do is go to lancewallnau.com and download the information we have so that you and I can stay connected. Remember that. That's lancewallnau.com. By the way, the people are talking to me all the time about what are they going to do economically because I'm warning them. And I've talked about gold. Then we get complaints. Well, Lance, I understand you talk about gold, but I don't have any money. I'm just struggling along. Well, I'm not mocking the fact that you're struggling. We've all been there. But the reality is you need a plan to break the cycle. And you can break the cycle. Go to lancewallnau.com/stormproof. We have a 3-phase process. We will assess where you are and get you out of poverty into sufficiency, out of sufficiency into prosperity, out of prosperity into increase. 30, 60, 100-fold. There's a biblical paradigm for breaking out of the status quo, and the status quo will never change if you don't sow a different seed into your future. The first seed is take action. lancewallnau.com/stormproof. I spent hours working with my team to help those of you that are too poor to be able to buy gold and silver to find a way out of debt so that you can make it. lancewallnau.com/stormproof is for you that have nothing, you that have something, and you that have a lot to lose. We've got strategies for how to protect your wealth in the days to come. lancewallnau.com/stormproof. We love you, we're praying for you, and we're in this together. See you again tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to this Lance Wallnau broadcast. If you enjoyed today's show, make sure to subscribe and share the episode. See you tomorrow.
I only want to give my business to you. I don't want to give it to a woke corporation. I don't want to give it to some big guy that's going to be using my money against me. That day is over, folks. You can now go to Public Square. Go to lancewallnau.com/Public Square and find the businesses that are patriot businesses, that are faith-filled businesses, and put your business on the map so we can start doing business with you. lancewallnau.com/